Welcome to the Sacred Womb podcast with me, Melanie Swan. A space for women who want to heal at the root, reclaim the wisdom of the womb, and live as cyclical, sovereign women, sourced from within, rooted in love. Hello, hello. So, when life starts to feel like an itchy jumper. So this is generally the first psychological sign of perimenopause. So there's a shift in consciousness that slowly starts to creep in at midlife. It's usually about 40 to 46, maybe 47. It depends. But it's a slow burn of this one. And it signals that perimenopause has definitely begun. So it doesn't come generally at a dramatically defined point in time. It's more that we start to get like a background whisper, then a gradual feeling that our life, the one that we may or may not have been quite happily living, no longer seems to kind of fit. And it may not be because anything's wrong, or maybe something does need to change, but something within us is fundamentally shifting. And so when I say fundamentally, I really mean like our axis seems to shift. And it commonly produces a sense of kind of disorientation, not in a traumatized way, not in like a really dramatic, oh my God, I can't find my feet way. It's more, well, for me anyway, it was more like, okay, everything in my world is the same. And I really love the life that I've created. I love where I am, love what I'm doing. And yet I started to feel more detached, it was just a different orientation. And it kind of felt like a bit of an itchy jumper. Like, did I want to take it off? Did I not want to take it off? And yeah, it was just the real start of deep perimenopause for me. So yeah, perimenopause doesn't have to come with like a diagnosis or a blood test, although you can do that if you want. It comes as a feeling because it is a rite of passage. It is a transition from our fertile years to our wise woman era. So this feeling of being slightly unattached, kind of energetically out of sorts, that we're no longer in a younger sort of age bracket, and really everything's changing, but it's really hard to put a name to it or language or put a finger on. So yeah, it can feel like wearing someone else's itchy jumper. And that can feel kind of odd. And what's really important is that we understand that that is normal and that we talk to each other about it and that we don't try and fix. We don't rush to try and fix or therapize it or pathologize it because it is natural. And that was my first question to myself. Is something wrong? Do I need to address something? And really what I kept coming back to was no. I don't think so. So it was an odd one, but I did feel kind of energetically detached and distant from people I'd socialized with, from ways of being and my own beingness, from my work, from everything really. And they weren't bad or no longer aligned, but really I can't emphasize this enough. My relationship to myself, my inner axis was like, it started to move and change and shift. So things felt a little bit off kilter, even though they weren't necessarily. So what's really happening? So yeah, it's important to understand that we can't separate this hormonal shift that happened, this physiological shift, from the emotional and psychological changes, get my words out, that accompany it. It's a whole shift. It is not one thing, it is not all the other. It's a whole experience of life changes. And they don't necessarily happen in sequence, hormones first, feelings after. It's a whole integrated mechanism. So that's why it can feel quite overwhelming, because everything is happening all at once. And that's why it can feel so strong, because it can seem like it's come out of nowhere once we experience it, but it has been building up very slowly. So yeah, this shift is underway, like way before we're consciously aware of it. And it's slow by design. Nature doesn't make this kind of change all at once. It's physiologically, biologically. That would just be too much for us to cope with. It would be too quick. So it activates slowly and it amplifies gradually. And yeah, the first emotional territory tends to be this detachment and disorientation. So we are, in the most literal sense, completing the first half of our lives. The attachments we've had to who we are, how we operate, what we do, who we spend time with, those attachments are beginning to loosen and complete. Not because they were wrong at all, but just their time is ending. It's just over. And in Buddhist teachings, attachment is suffering. Connection is something altogether different. But what perimenopause I've experienced does, it unwinds attachments to things, people, and ways of being. And it tries to help us end suffering. Sometimes we cling, but if we know that that's what it's meant to do, it's a lot easier to put the torch down, basically. And it's so that we can move into this wise woman era, something that's more true and wise and more mature. And there has to be a transition. We can't just go from one thing to the other. So basically that's what peri is. And it lasts about 7 years. So it is quite the process. So I was struggling to put to words or to describe with friends what was going on. And so I started writing poetry. And I'm actually writing a book that charts the whole process. But I wanted to share one of those poems today. And it is called The Last Chapter of the Menstrual Cycle. So I did write this when I was at the beginning of peri, and it expressed my experience just before I'd accepted. So here goes. I'm standing at the edge of a lake, the warm water lapping at my feet. My menstruating years on the bank on which I'm standing. There's something in the air, a gentle breeze, a sniff of completion. At 44, I relish this ease. It's gentler than I thought. No drama, no resistance, just nature taking her course. Yes, whispers the wind. Yes, rustle the trees. Yes, yes, yes. There's a smidgen of reflection, the ghost of what was. And as the noise of the last chapter fades, there's this feeling. Love. Yes, it's love. Quietly emanating, gently, strongly, softly. There's absolutely nothing to do. I don't need to dive in. I can just be. My body will change. My womb will transform. All of this I know. And then there's this. The unknown. The deep, rich ground of not knowing. The erotic silence. An open invitation from the all and everything. Yes, I whisper from deep inside. Yes. And the warm water gently laps my toes. Wow. I hadn't read that out loud since I'd written it, actually, and that was 5, nearly 6 years ago. So, yeah, that's great to look back on. Okay. So I want to talk a bit more now about what makes that process harder and what actually helps. So the most common thing women do with this disorientation is to try and fix it in an attempt to cling to youth, cling to energy levels, roles, pace, and their life, really, which I really understand. I totally get it, why we can be questioning how can we carry on with our current lives with all these changes that are going on. And the answer really is that we need to change our lives to accommodate what's going on, to make space for it, not the other way around. So the added difficulty is we haven't got our new wise woman, clear consciousness, vivacious, rooted, grounded wildness yet. The old is ending. The new hasn't arrived. That middle place, the transition, is the initiation into our truth. It's where the composting and the completion is happening, but the emergence hasn't begun. It can be really deeply freaking uncomfortable. And we rarely have examples of how to live in not knowing, genuine slowing down, and to also know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Because we're taught from an early age to solve, to move forward and to make progress. And Peri just demands that we drop all that. So the genuine natural unknown also mixes with early attachment trauma. And this is where it gets a bit sticky, because not knowing if we'd get connection or not, that inconsistency of attachment mixes with the unknown, the genuine unknown, the juicy unknown that's pregnant with potential. So that's why perimenopause triggers old, deep attachment patterns. And again, it's meant to, and it's okay. So with insecure attachment templates, the unknown is unbearable, because if we don't get connection, we might die. So it initiates this sense of survival terror, and that needs processing, and Peri's going to bring it up. And if we don't process it, it sits in the body and it sits in our nervous system, driving us. So please know there's nothing wrong with you. You haven't failed in therapy or personal development. It's just perimenopause is meant to bring up the deepest roots so that we can grow. So it's really important to unblend these two, the unknowing if I'm going to get connection and attachment, and therefore will I live or will I die? That's very primal. And wow, I'm facing the great unknown where I can really expand my beingness into something greater, different. I have no idea. But yeah, unblending them is key, and then processing the survival terror that's sitting in the system. But fundamentally, we need to really accept that the old has to end first. Trying to skip it or fix it or medicate it or push through into something new too quickly or go back to the old, that's what makes Peri much, much harder. And we can skim it. We can skim Peri. I've known women that aren't particularly in their bodies or are taking a myriad of stuff. And it's okay. They need to experiment. They're on their own trajectory, but it makes it much, much harder. Okay. So here's what actually helps. This is the best bit. So what actually helps is to know there's nothing wrong, to know what we're feeling is natural, it's intelligent, and it's a complete process. So we have all the pathways and wisdom within us to go through this, but we do have to be in touch with our body. So yeah, as I said, identifying what's natural from what's trauma and knowing, okay, I need to process that, but I just need to stay with this bit. And then adjust our lives in a way that supports the process to gradually happen. And that generally means we need more space. But full acceptance of what is happening right now, what is happening within us, brings us into being more present with ourselves rather than trying to change something that is essentially, it's a force of nature. Like, it's inevitable. We can't stop it. And why would we? So, and I don't mean acceptance as this, I know this like this social media surrender, and it's all kind of glamorized and romanticized, and we just need to surrender. And that's bollocks. What a load of bullshit. Acceptance is really being able to tolerate our own sensation, our own unknowing, our own being in our body without kind of collapsing and submitting to it. That's not what I'm saying. Or gritting our teeth and tolerating it. It's being present with it. And that, I mean, we can do that by just putting a hand on our body and breathing. That's a really easy step to just start. Oh, what am I experiencing right now? So yeah, this real acceptance that comes when we are present with our sensation and our emotion, we can say to ourselves, okay, I accept I'm in a transition. The first half of my life is complete and I don't know what's coming yet. And that's okay. And I'm not going to know for a while. So the key to moving through disorientation naturally is stop requiring ourselves to know what's next, to not try performing our old lives. And, we might do this. I've experimented with this a lot because I didn't know where I was and I didn't have a guide. There was a human in my womb and my psyche. And of course, all the women that have ever gone through this, I have access to that wisdom because it comes through our womb. It comes through our whole beingness. So yeah, do try not to perform the old life that doesn't quite fit anymore. Let these things just be that don't fit and leave the space open for something new. And yeah, that can be uncomfortable, but it's essential. I know it can be a big ask, but it really is the very thing that advances and matures our consciousness because we develop more patience, more ability to be present with something without fixing it. So when I came to a fuller acceptance, everything just started to settle. And by the way, this wasn't just like one day or 2 months and then I accepted. It kind of came in waves because we work in spirals. Our psyche works in spirals. So whenever I'm talking about perimenopause, it is not linear. There's no 7 stages that we can follow. Of course, there's a beginning, a middle bit, and an end. But within that, we spiral through different states. And that spiral is designed to take us deeper and deeper. And of course, most of us are still cycling in peri. So our cycle is changing and that is moving through us as well. So yeah, so I basically stopped resisting the process, stopped questioning it, and just let myself be. And then I began to relish in it. I loved it. I've actually really enjoyed peri for the most part, but it has been challenging. And so the detachment that felt a bit disorienting and felt a bit like, what am I going to do? It became liberation. I really feel complete with the first half of my life and I feel at peace with that. And I could feel even then when I wrote that poem that something new was coming, but I had no idea what. But I do have a general trust in myself, and after years of living in harmony, let's say mostly harmony with my menstrual cycle, I have a trust in the process of my nature. Because something new always comes, a new day always comes, a new phase, a new thing, a new planet, and whatever. It's just the process of creation. But it's really important that we accept this death process first. So if that's where you are, you have my deepest support, my deepest understanding and compassion. Probably got 1, 2 in the old and 1 in something new, maybe, or nothing. You probably energetically have to step or quietly wondering if something's wrong. But really, you're not broken. It might feel like you're in crisis, and maybe it is a mini crisis, but It's okay. Stay present with it and it will move through you. So this is one of the most significant transitions in our life. And our whole system is really trying to do exactly what it needs to do. So try and stay with the process, keep breathing, and keep talking to women who are going through this in a similar way to you, because it's been so key for me to just like chew the fat and just talk and write poetry and share it and talk to my sisters. And, you know, the emergence will come. It is coming for me. And again, it comes in waves. But first, the detachment, the composting, and the completion has to happen in several waves. Okay. Okie doke. So if you want further support, I've recorded a free guided practice to help you create more capacity in peri. It's about 10-15 minutes. I didn't want to make it too long. I don't want to make anything too long or arduous for women in perimenopause. And yeah, if you want to go deeper with other women who understand, I'm running regular workshops on navigating perimenopause as an initiation. Again, 2 hours, experiential. Let's get into it. And no nonsense, no fluff. Or if you do want the depth of connection of a one-to-one support, then I am here. And all those links are in my show notes. Okay. All right. Well, I wish you lots of love and a deep and juicy transition.